Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Vlovsky. I'm the owner of Supporting Strategies, and we provide bookkeeping and controller services for businesses. And with me, we have Irene Sky, who is a partner at Sky Univer PC, a law firm providing various legal services. And today, we're actually going to talk about the employment law portion. And Irene is our greatest specialist when it comes to that. And we decided to talk about the sick leave policy and that some employers, they're required to provide between 40 or 56 hours. And I think we're going to tackle that aspect. How much are you actually required to provide? So Irene, if you could please get started.
Of course. Hi, Jane. So we're going to start just first by discussing this difference. And that's a lot of the questions that we receive is an employer required to provide 40 hours of sick leave or 56? And that actually depends on a couple of factors. There is a income-based factor as well, and that's a little bit more detail specific, and that's something that typically we review individually with each client. But the general, one of the general other principles that you can look at is really the size of the company. So for employers who employ less than 100 employees, in New York, you only have to have provided 40 hours of sick time per year. And then for those employers who employ more than 100 employees, you have to provide 56 hours of sick time for the calendar year. And that's really something that another point that I want to make is that this is in fact a calendar year. So from a taxation perspective, it doesn't matter if your, let's say, year or your fiscal year ends in the middle of the year, the sick time is actually calculated from January to the end of December. And that brings me to the next point, which is that there's a carryover period. So if we keep in mind that the year ends on December 31st, there's also in New York a law that the time, if it's unused, so only unused time, will carry over for 6 months. And that allows an employee to be able to, in the new year, accrue additional time. So they don't come in on January 1st and they don't have any sick time at all. They're not able to use anything. And if somebody really needs sick time within the first or second week of January, they don't have any time. So that will bring me into accrual. And how do these hours accrue? Under the law, every employee accrues 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours that they work, which is why initially a couple of years ago, this rollover period was only for the first 4 months. But they found that some part-time employees took a lot longer than the first 4 months to accrue enough time to have that sick time that they need. And so they extended that rollover for only what is, again, unused into the next year for the 6 months. And that helps, again, those part-time employees, because that accrual is really quite slow, only 1 hour for every 30 worked. It could really take a part-time employee months to obtain that. And so the reason that this topic even came up and that we started talking about this is this leads in from our topic from last week of investigations. And sick time and the sick leave law is under the scope and purview of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and it is subject to investigation with the Department of Consumer Affairs, and the penalties are quite high. They're actually $50,000 up to $50,000 per employee, which is definitely quite high for a law like this. And so because of that, I encourage employers to look at various policies. We a lot of the times find that some of our clients offer vacation time that would far exceed even double what the sick time is, but they didn't offer sick time. And so really just changing policies and being able to just move things around can actually keep a client in compliance, keep an employer in compliance without actually having to change anything up significantly or offer significantly a lot more. But at this time, I'd like to bring this back to Jane and just discuss what the tax implications of this sick leave law are.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think you brought up really, really good points. And for the businesses that we're working with, most of the time when we're doing payroll, we're using a third-party provider such as ADP, Augusto, and we're tracking the accrual in the payroll provider system, and we're tracking the accrual. And so for the part-time and the full-time, it's being tracked the same way, like you said, 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. And so most of these people who are getting paid, they're getting paid from their employers, right? And so the sick leave pay is generally included in their federal taxable income. So that means that you'll have to pay the same taxes as you would get paid on your regular pay. So you're going to probably see withheld from paycheck, Social Security, Medicare, payroll taxes. So basically, if they were to pay your sick leave benefits, the taxes you pay would look almost exactly what you owe on your regular work pay. And then there could be different tax rules for sick leave pay. They get more complicated when somebody gets paid through like a third party that comes through the insurance company. And then the key questions would be, the coverage that the employee was responsible for, the premium, whether it was used with the pre-tax or after-tax dollars. And that would be kind of a different point of discussion. But for the most part, when we're just tracking regular sick leave pay, it really would look the same as the regular hours paid that the employees were getting paid from the employer. And the most important is making sure that you have that sick leave policy set up in your payroll system, and then you're tracking it the same for all your employees. I think that would be the key takeaway. And if anybody has any further questions, really, please let us know. You could send us a message and we'd be happy to respond to you and maybe do a similar podcast in the next week. So thanks, everybody.